Hello everyone and welcome to today's lighting critique. No housekeeping notes for the day, so we're going to jump straight into the critiques. So we have Yang Lu's update to the animated car sequence, which I really love. I'm excited to hear if you can share what you've been up to lately. I know you said you've been working at a job. Just curious what you're up to. Want to hear how things are going. If there's an NDA and you can't talk about it, totally understandable. But just wanted to see what's been going on. We've also got a handful of stills here from Aaron, from Alfredo, Cleber, Kjelds, and Nick. So we will go through these second. First off, we are going to take a look at another shot here. This is Cleber's update on the camera move for the first poker puss shot. So I love this camera move. I think it's great. I love the subtlety to it, in that it feels like we're floating through water, which really kind of helps sell the scene. It's a nice, soft, subtle movement. The one thing that I would do, and this is totally your call, because this is kind of a classic CG thing that kind of happens, which is so basically there's a ramp up going. So if you look at the first frame, like the camera's dead stopped, and then it starts to go and it ramps up the speed until peak speed, and then it ramps down at the end and slows to a stop. It just feels like if it's more cinematic, it'll actually be moving pretty consistently throughout and maybe slowing towards the end. I would do that. I would just have it start, like make the interpolation on the animation curve linear at the beginning so that it's like it's been moving the whole time. Additionally, it would be kind of cool if like you could do some simple animation on it, like have the eyeballs rotate to follow the camera. I was thinking that could be kind of cool because like this octopus is always just kind of like, he has a very suspicious look on her face. Just kind of following the viewer around, I thought would be kind of a fun one. But yeah, really love this. I think it's a nice little setup. Okay, so let's talk about Yang's piece here. So the one thing that I really like about it is that you go from this, like there's a happy moment in the car where everything's good, and then there's like something happens, and then it goes into darkness and it goes into chaos, right? Like I love that storytelling feature, and like the green light on them at the end is really unnatural. The biggest thing that I would do is there's a point in the transition where I think you can really hit it even harder, like right here. So there's this light that shines in through the back. Like I would almost have it overtake the frame. Think about like a camera with a headlight. Like imagine that these are like high beams and they're shining into the camera, and it almost like washes it away entirely. You do a really, really good job of having that shine in, but I think you can even push it even further. The other thing is I think that this light on her at the beginning is a little bit it's like too warm. It's too orangey. And really what it's doing is it's kind of flattening her out a little bit. And I would like for the saturation on that to come down and see if there's ways that you can get some more shaping and perhaps some specularity in her skin there. I really like what's going on with his skin. Maybe a little bit more specularity from this phone because it's a super small light source. But overall, I think that's working really well. There are some eye things that we'll have to clean up at the end. I think like especially like there's, this gets kind of bright in there. And then when she turns to the side, the other thing is like her pupil is a little bit murky. You usually want to see those darker values be darker. But as she turns this way, there's like a super bright thing happening there. His eyes look pretty good. But overall, like I said, I don't want to get too nitpicky on this, is that I think it's really, really good. The only other spot that I would kind of focus in on trying to do is seeing if you can get more variation on just like that back part of the back window. Because that stays pretty static throughout in the way that everything else is so super dynamic. But yeah, I think everything else is great. I would be very happy with this. And I would just keep going from there. But yeah, like I said, let us know what you've been up to. Okay. So I'm going to start with Cleber just because there's more to this story. So here's an in progress render. And I want to take a look at the animation that's going on with this. So we got so here's the basic structure of what we're going through. Bug is there's two focal points, right? There's bear and bug. Everything else is kind of secondary. That's my assumption anyway. So we really kind of want to like make sure we're getting some good light coming down here, following the path of the bug down this way, and then also kind of centering it not only on the bear but like on his. It look like we need to read that he's sleeping, knocked out, whatever the case may be. So that's how I want to structure the lighting. His arms don't matter. None of this stuff matters. It's all his head and the bug moving. So looking at this, I think that we can extend. The light coming down here, so that it's more like a pot. Like you create like a little pocket of light here, because that'll make more shaping on this guy. It'll just kind of highlight this movement. You'll see the shadow. If you want to create like a little bit of a gobo in here, like maybe a little darkness, so that the bug goes from light, dark, light, you could do that. But I would definitely open this up a little bit to create a little bit more shaping. For the bear, it's tough to tell without him there. But I would darken this over here and just kind of focus in on where his head is. This all looks good back here, just because there's a lot of like like what I call dappling. Same thing here. There's like a lot of dappling. Here, it's just like it's wide open, so you want to dapple in there too, and then take out some of the dapple in this region to really kind of focus it in there. Make sure that you're getting specular highlights on these leaves. Look at leaves in nature. They are super specky in a way, like because they're waxy, especially on their top side. So you want to make sure to get that. And that would be my main focus here. So again, just really focusing in on two brighter areas, like the where the bug's crawling and on the bear himself. All right, Aaron. So good stuff. Love you said something about like Tim Burton does Tim Burton does Ghostbusters, which I think is really fun. So one of the things about Ghostbusters is that at least in the originals and in the more recent one, I guess the more recent one does highlight more of these colors. But I always remember from the original, like the Slimer green, like that. Like these, like it's more about being like this super green color, and you kind of have it in this original rough idea, and then you switch it over into this pink tone, which is fine. I love the contrasting elements of the green monsters versus the red good guys, right? Like the complementary color thing. If you want to keep it pink, that's totally fine. We can totally go with that. But just a thought there. In terms of a few things, so there's a little bit of complexity going on in that there are several light sources. There's light coming from inside the house. There's light shining out this way. It looks like the character herself is emanating light. It looks very glowy. I can't tell if you're going to make this a light source or if it's going to be like that dark form and be like silhouetted by it. So I would kind of pick one or the other. So either make this character like glowing, or make the light coming out of here and then this silhouetted with the rim. I love the lights here. I think that works out really well. But additionally, you've got a very strong moonlight coming in here, and then there's these like street lights. So you're kind of dancing with the street lights between them being on and being off, because they're not dark in that they're off, and they're not super bright like they're on and glowing. For me, I would turn them off. I would just make them dark, like as dark as like these trees back there, and just make them like able to pick up some rim and some other stuff. But like, and what that will do will allow you to create a pocket of light in here and a pocket of light over here, and allow this area to go into darkness, right? You want to create these two realms for our antagonist characters to live in. Good guys, bad guys. And then over here, you can up the focus over here by like making these be a little bit glowier, like trying to get maybe a stronger read on the background here. I'm not quite sure what like those lights are coming from, but that's where. So yeah, so like it looks like the lights are coming out of these maybe, but it's hard to tell. So I would almost just focus it down here on this and then create like a hazy glow around there. I do like the gradient you're getting in the sky. This bottom might be getting a little bit too bright. I think you can go a little bit darker with that. And then there's like this also like kind of bluish greenish fill light. So again, nothing is bad. I think you're off to a great start, and I think you're exploring the space, which is where you should be right now. I think now is the time that we should start focusing in on kind of specifically the story, like how you like what pockets you want to create, and minimizing the number of light sources to not create too much confusion. But yeah, really great job there. And love this reference. Thank you for including this. Alfredo, great stuff. Love it overall. The only thing that I would do is just add a little bit more darkness in some of these areas over here. I think that's all right. I think your colors are on point. I think everything else is on point. I would just make a little bit more darkness in like some of these extreme foreground areas, and then I would call this done. And like something like that. Yeah. Yeah. But other than that, I think it's great. Maybe just a little bit more contrast in I like the table, maybe just like maybe a little more in the bread and the coffee too. Just like in the dark, just like a touch more. But overall, beautiful stuff. You should be happy with it and proud of it. And ready to move on to the next one. Cleber. Kjelds, love this. I think it's going well. Like I said in what I wrote was right in here, there's a lot of noise. And you can either just like do a blur in post that makes it kind of blur that way, or you can up the resolution. Either or. A little noise in here too. I guess it's just the metal bits are a little noisy. And then additionally, and this I was looking at this right before I hit record. You can, totally up to you, push the brightness in the foreground just a little bit more. And then when that happens, the reds go a little bit very saturated. So just pull that back just a little bit. But something more along this line. Totally your call there. But I think that pops just a little bit more. And you could totally do that in post. Like I think that's like all I would do on that. So really great job on that one as well. Okay, Nick, sorry to add you to the end. I always feel bad for the person that goes last in these because I feel like you're just kind of waiting around. But anyway, very cool reference. Love this. Love the look of this. I think it's really beautiful. Love the warm over cool. Love the shaping on the light. And I think it's a really nice, quote unquote, simple scene that to kind of mimic. So I love that you're getting like, if you look back here, we've got the gradient of this fading off here, like kind of the circle, like this cyan circle that fades off into the darker blue background. And I think you're matching that well. It's kind of centered around this sphere and moving off into space. I think that's really cool. I think that this saturation is too strong. I love like the softness on this, and that comes a lot from like the desaturated look from these warm tones. Additionally, so it's funny because there's only one object here and here there's two. So I'm not quite sure if you're using that sphere to kind of replicate this guy down here or the character. So I would almost like put, another sphere on top of it there to replicate the child on top. And that way you can use this as kind of like a light source that's bouncing up at him. Or, you know what, if you want to just use him as the, maybe move this ball up there. Or if you want to use this as the main light source. It's just about getting some more bounce light onto our main subject matter. This one's being lit pretty flatly. Like it's getting hit strong straight on. With this, a big light source is coming up this way. And then we've got it falling off from right to left. Same thing across the hat here. And then we're getting some cool kicks on this backside from the sky to kind of tie those together. So it's warmth coming up from down below to match in with what we're seeing here, and then cool kicks on the fill side. Where yours is like pretty much warm throughout. So I would work on whatever you're using as your main character to be warmth coming in here and falling off, and then just along this backside getting some cool kicks. Now, it would be nearly impossible to get cool kicks on an object this saturated warm. So that's where desaturating it will come in a little bit. And then the last thing I would point out is just there is some, like the shadows are going in two different directions. Like if you look here, there's a shadow going this way and a shadow going this way. The same thing here, the shadow going this way. Excuse me. And what you want to do is, so if one of those is the fill light, you want to increase the radius on it so that the shadow of the fill light is much softer than the key light, because you don't want, because then it just kind of feels like theatrical stage lighting where there's multiple shadows and it doesn't feel like, natural exterior lighting. So that's it for today. If you guys have any questions, just let us know, and we look forward to seeing what you got for us tomorrow. All right, happy lighting, everybody.